It's crazy to me just how much Frieren managed to pack into one short romance episode. So I just finished Frieren Season 2, and one episode stuck with me way more than it should have. No, it's not the fight. Yes, the animation was insane. This scene in particular absolutely blew me away. But for me, the real highlight of this season is the date between Fern and Stark. And the more I sat with it, the more I realized this episode does way more than just romance. Fern's character development, how Stark solidifies himself as a great character, how much Frieren has quietly grown at understanding and caring for people, even though she'd never admit it. And of course, the date itself. This episode simply has everything. The episode starts the way Frieren always do best, creating the atmosphere. Our party arrives at the hot spring town, and Frieren finally gets to enjoy a proper bath. The town is introduced slowly. Warm lighting, steam hanging in the air, people going on with their day, and some beautiful architecture. The scenes peacefully establish a pleasant and cozy atmosphere. Meanwhile, Fern, hanging out with Stark in his room, discussing how they will spend the rest of their stay. Fern presses him for attention, and Stark, trying to tease her, casually asks her out on a date. And here's where it gets interesting. This sudden invitation completely stuns Fern. She stiffens, drops her book, accepts the invitation, and leaves the room in complete shock, without even closing the door. Her whole response is a brilliant display of telling a story using body language. The show doesn't feel the need to explain what is happening. The show trusts the viewers to know exactly what's going on. Fern never expected to get this far, and she can barely keep her composure. The way she freezes up and leaves the room immediately shows that she needs a moment alone to process and calm herself down. And Stark's teasing? Instead of collapsing into embarrassment or misunderstanding, it turns out to be something better. I just love when a story lets an unintentional moment to move things forward instead of sabotaging it for comedy. Speaking of comedy, the episode is full of them as well. Frieren catching Stark standing awkwardly outside of Fern's door, her reaction when he comes to her for dating advice is the best. I guess Granny must be so content with her trip to this town, we get to see some of her most expressive faces here. The anime team even go out their way to expand a single panel of Frieren's tantrum into a full animated sequence. It took me so off guard, I was as shocked as the gang when I saw this. Here's where the episode dive into Frieren's growth. When Frieren helps Stark plan the date, she suggests all sort of lovely things. The market, pretty little shops, breads, sweets, an open plaza with a nice view. Stark is amazed at how well she knows about Fern, but Frieren just brushes it off and says Heiter is the one who told her all of it. She's never really know what Fern likes. But that's not true. Notice how Fern's love for open plazas was never explicitly told to Frieren in the flashback. It was something Frieren discovered, first during her birthday, and later reinforced when they watched the New Year's sunrise together. Frieren downplays her own growth. She noticed, and she remembered. She is constantly trying to understand people better, slowly but surely. She's someone who's always so certain about her capability, yet she's completely unsure of herself when it comes to human connection and relationship. Her insecurity is exactly what makes her effort feel so much more sincere and heartwarming. That night, Fern comes to Frieren for advice, and once again, the show lets her body language do the talking. Filled with a mix of nervousness, excitement, and awkwardness, she quietly walks over, sits beside Frieren with barely a sound, side-eyes her, working up the courage to even ask the question. When Frieren's advice turns out to be unhelpful, she goes to sleep. That night, she can't really fall asleep. The next day, the date finally happens. Accessory shop, comically oversized buns, sweets, HIMmel's statue. It captures the awkwardness of a first date really well. Fern over-prepares, struggling to fill the dead air. Stark rushes through the schedule like it's a checklist, fails to pick up on Fern's subtle signals or notices her mood, at least not until the very end. Stark eventually realizes something seems wrong. Fern hasn't smiled once the entire date. She tells him it wasn't a bad day, just that Stark hasn't been acting like himself. That's when he comes clean and admits Frieren was the one who planned the whole thing. He really wanted Fern to have a good time. He wanted the date to be special. And that's the moment Fern finally smiles. She is happy that Stark cared enough to put in the effort for her. Throughout the show, Stark's defining trait is his kindness. He plays with kids, he helps strangers with their minor problems. He always ends up doing things for others, even on his birthday. That's what Fern likes about him. She didn't want a perfectly planned date. She wanted to see where Stark would take her. She wants to know more about him. So when the date feels like a checklist instead of something natural, Fern can't help but feel a little disappointed, even though she tries her best to not show it. This is where Fern's development really shines in this episode. She's a war orphan, raised first by Hyder and later traveling with Frieren, two figures defined by maturity and composure. One provided emotional reassurance, the other represented quiet competence and stability. Then Stark entered her life. He is expressive, anxious, and outwardly insecure. Even though Fern recognizes his kindness and courage, he is still very much different from the dependable figures she grew up with. Fern may be stern and quick to anger, but she is neither petty nor toxic. She understands it's not really Stark's fault he forgot her birthday, or that he grabbed her too firmly. Fern doesn't always show it, but she is someone who takes relationships seriously. She's said it herself more than once. She doesn't dislike Stark. It's just his cluelessness that annoys her. The turning point in how Fern sees him doesn't come from anything romantic, but from watching him show up, again and again, when it actually matters. Stark consistently fulfills his role as the party's frontliner. Even when he is in fear, he never abandons his post. In moments of danger, he always acts decisively. The Crystal Cave incident stands out in particular. Unable to use her magic, Fern experiences genuine helplessness, and Stark is the one who steps up and carries both her and Frieren to safety. For someone who values dependability above everything, that single moment reshapes how she sees him. He may cry, he may panic, but when it truly matters, he does not fail. And that's the distinction that matters. Fern begins to realize that being emotionally expressive doesn't mean being unreliable. Stark's fear does not negate his courage. They exist together. Later, during the reunion with Warble, Fern is faced, even briefly, with the idea that Stark might leave the party. He never actually meant to, but the mere thought of losing him is enough to make Fern realize how much she actually cares. And maybe she had been too harsh on him. From there, she softens. She gets more patient and more open about what she feels. And that all comes together near the end of the date, when they finally open up to each other. Fern tells him about herself, how she never thought she would be able to experience peaceful moments like this, and how she has Hyder to thank for that. Stark feels the same about his master Eisen, who took him in after the demon attack that destroyed his home. Two orphans, both taken in by members of the hero's party, who inspired by the hero himself. It's a genuinely full circle moment. No one saw this date coming. Neither of them expected things to even go this far. But they both tried, they prepared, they showed up, and most importantly, they communicated. Fern knows Stark isn't naturally romantic, but she can see the effort he put in to make her happy. That leads into the final scene of the date, where they end up doing the most Stark thing possible. Watching Cloud, pointing out shapes, laughing together. In the end, the date finally feels like Stark. This is a realistic first date. It's awkward, full of missed signals, and a little disappointing. It is not a perfect date, but it sets up for a better second one. And that's it for the video. OMG. Let me know in the comments what moment in Frieren that you think deserve more love. Subscribe if you made it this far. See you on the next one.